Hello and welcome to another episode of Feel Good for Men Who Want Change, the podcast for guys who feel left out or left behind, but know there's some things they want to change. Today, I'm joined by Steve Cardwell, founder of Deliberate Dad, a coaching system that helps fathers who are feeling like they have no time to take deliberate action, to set standards and make sure they're giving attention where it's needed most. Now, as you'll hear, Steve is very much in the thick of this. He's got a 3-year-old and a 10-month-old, and of course, running his own business. But it was a Scotch Egg moment, which you'll hear about on a birthday of his, that made him reflect on why he was making the choices that he was. He felt like he was living on autopilot and needed to take some deliberate action to make sure that when he looked back, when he was 10 years older, 15 years older, 20 years older, he felt good about the choices he'd made. And I think this is so important. So many of us as dads making some choices based on a script we were given by our fathers, by society. And without examining that, it can be really easy to end up in a place we don't want to be, whether that's at work, with your relationship, with your health. And so Steve's work is all about making us examine the choices that we're making and live a deliberate life thereafter. Please enjoy my conversation with Steve, and if you like what you hear, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear. Steve, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you, Tim.
And I wanted to check first of all, because we've been doing a little work together this morning. We've both banged back a few coffees. How's the energy levels? I know you've got a 10-month-old at home.
Energy's all right. Sleep's okay at the minute, Tim. I think we're through the worst of it.
Yeah, okay.
Although, as I was saying before, he's just started nursery, so it's just the annoying coughing in the middle of the night because he's basically been sick for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The standard go to nursery 1 week on, 1 week off.
Yeah.
But you're still paying for it, so
yeah.
that's good.
Yeah, perfect. Honestly, it's the business that we all need to be in. Somehow they make a killing from having our kids at home.
I know. Well, I mean, when I went in there, sometimes they're definitely earning their money. So
yeah.
I'm not going to criticize. They're saints in there. They deserve paid a lot more.
That's true. And you've got a 3-year-old as well, is that right?
A 3-year-old as well, yeah. So he's more the coughing and crying. She's more the, Daddy, I need to go to the toilet at 4 a.m.
Yeah. So when we talk about all this stuff, and we'll come on to like what you do in parenting and deliberate dads, but you are coming from a position of authority, being in the thick of it with a 3-year-old and a 10-month-old.
Yeah, I mean, this year it's been quite the year. You know, you have conversations with like friends, and they go, "Oh yeah, the jump from 1 to 2 is a bit crazy," and you go, that's fine. I've been doing this for 3 years, it'll be fine. Yeah. And then you're like, oh yeah, no, it's been mental.
Yeah.
It's and I think that's a lot of the parenting things, right? Like there's this idea that I heard on a podcast. There's some lessons that like are unlearnable.
Yes.
Like you read the thing.
Yes.
And you know about the thing, and you listen to the podcast about the thing, and you watch the YouTube video, and a million people say it.
Yeah.
But until you actually do it, until you actually live it, you can't quite grasp it, right? And I think that's having kids or having 2 kids or any of those types of scenarios.
100%. One of the most unhelpful bits of advice, I think, is saying, well, make sure you cherish the moments when they're young because they're not going to be around forever. And I'm like, I know that. I want to, but I'm really tired.
Yeah. There's a reason why they're all cliches, right?
Yeah.
Because they're actually true.
Yeah, absolutely. But now mine are 9 and 8, and I look back at pictures of when they were 2 and 3 or 2 and 4, whatever. I'm like, did I cherish them enough? I hope so. I think so. But at the time, you're just in it,
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of we'll get on to it, but that's one of the things about my work, right? It's like trying to acknowledge the moments. And I think especially when they're very young, like we've had, because the stages change so quickly. Yeah. I'm sure they change a little bit less as they get, or a little bit less often as they get a little bit older. But I was sort of saying there, we moved Pearl into her new room now that Lenny's got her old room. She's in a big girl bed. And the first night, like, I tucked her in there. I was quite emotional. Yeah. I'm like, shit, like, this is, like, starting to get to the end. I mean, I'm actually getting emotional thinking about it now. Yeah. This is starting to get to the end of, this phase. Yeah. And actually, it doesn't last forever. And we went to see a primary school the other day as well, and sort of the same thing. Yeah. It's like, wow, like, how am I sitting here? It does actually go so fast. Yeah, it's terrifying. Well, look, we'll come on to the work you do with dads and how you try and get us to live in those moments. But
I think it'd be wrong not to think about the how this all came to be and how it started. And for you, there was this, we can describe it as the Scotch Egg moment, but I know it aligned with a birthday. Tell us a bit about this sort of reflection point you had and how this all came to be.
Yeah, it's just a good sticky name, a Scotch Egg moment, right? People were like, what the hell are you talking about a Scotch Egg for? But yes, no, I think like with a lot of people, it would be great if this was avoidable, right?
Yeah,
but like for a lot of people, there's usually a point, right? There's usually some kind of like crisis point that makes them think, all right, is this it? Or do I want to continue down the path that I'm on? Or do I want to change it? And for me, it was, I remember very vividly, the Scotch Egg moment was my birthday in 2019. So like 6 years ago. And the reason why it's a Scotch Egg is I'm more into baked goods than cakes. So my wife brought me in a Scotch Egg with a candle, and we had this tradition of having birthday breakfast. So we went in, and at the time I've been working for myself for quite a number of years, and I was running a business in like advertising and marketing at the time. But I always had in the back of my mind, like, you know, is this what I want to do? Like, am I having the dent on the world that I want to? Like, or am I getting stressed about all these things that ultimately, like, I don't really care about? Yeah. Right? There was something there. And I think I put myself under quite a lot of pressure. Yeah. Like, I have high standards for myself. I want to squeeze the potential out of my life. And her just bringing this in for some reason was like a real trigger for me to go, like, the floodgates sort of opened. I got really upset, started crying, and didn't really know what it was. And I think it was just like a release, you know, someone doing something really nice for me. But I suppose I had two choices after that. It was like, okay, just let it go. It's a bit of a weird anomaly, or decide that this is like a good kicking off point to do something, right? Like to take responsibility for my life. And I think like up to that point in my 20s and early 30s, I always had the thing in the back of my mind, like I said. But I always thought that things would work out, right? Something would appear, an opportunity would happen. And I'd be like, oh yeah, that would solve it. Yeah, that'll be the thing. That'll be the ticket. That'll be the unlock. But then it got to that point, I'm like, if I'm sitting here in 10 years thinking this exact same thing, like I've no one to blame but myself. Yeah. Right. So that was when I started, you know, taking responsibility, started taking some action. I ended up hiring a coach, which got me on this path that I'm now. But tried lots of different things. Yeah. Experimented. Yeah. Right. Like, how can I find a bit more purpose? How can I be a bit more happy, content, comfortable with the path that I'm on? But that was sort of the trigger for it, that Scotch Egg moment.
And did you have a sense of what was missing, or what you were perhaps aiming for but weren't quite making progress against?
I think like a lot of us, it gets dressed up in work a lot, right? So like, and I get this with my clients as well. It's like, oh, my work is unfulfilling. So therefore, if I change my work, then that will give me what I'm looking for, right? Or this idea of purpose, right? I think I was like, I'm not as indoctrinated in it now, but I was then, right? You know, like, oh, why can I not find my purpose? What is it? And I think we try and find it through work a lot. Yeah. Or we think that that's the obvious thing to solve. And like, obviously I have changed career, right? So like I have made moves in that, but I've also made moves across all the other aspects of my life as well. So, and it usually, like, I thought it was work, but actually what it was taking lots of actions across all areas of my life to lift everything up a bit. Yeah. And of course, as I said, I eventually changed my career, but that wasn't necessarily a problem. But I think it was like this idea of lack of purpose was the thing that was triggering it.
And were you enjoying work at the time, your work? What were you doing?
I was doing sort of advertising production. Yeah. So like I was working for myself. Yeah. I was in like the booze industry, right? You know, my loft's still full of free bottles of gin. Okay. So like there's like obvious perks to it, and I really enjoyed it. But I think it was more a lack of like conscious decision making. I think was the key thing when I reflect back on it. You know, I think a lot of us get caught in this trap of not necessarily thinking through the decisions that we're making. So we live like unconsciously or live on default mode that I sort of talk about. And an opportunity was presented in front of me, so I took that opportunity.
Yeah.
Someone said, oh yeah, well, why don't you, like, that's a really great idea. If you worked in booze, why don't you pitch this idea and get this investment? I'm like, yeah, cool idea. And although I suppose from the outside, it looked like I'd consciously chosen because I was self-employed, because I ran a couple of businesses. When I actually reflect back on it, I probably took the thing that was in front of me, the easier choice, without actually really interrogating what I wanted to get out of it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And then once you're on that path, it's almost like it narrows the aperture of your sort of lens of life, right? Because the path is just, well, I'll just continue to be a bit more senior on that track, or maybe I'll make a slightly sideways move. But no, this is my lane now.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And then it feels much harder to actually step out of it as well, the further you get along in the path.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned there sort of default versus deliberate. I think it's worth just defining those terms as you use them and talking about the difference between them. So tell us a bit what you mean by living by default and then trying to move to living deliberately.
Yeah, I think like my sort of what I was talking there about this idea of living by default is almost on autopilot, right? So you get a job at 22, 23, so then you go to the next level and you go to the next level and you go to the next level. And a lot of people, when they get to like the late 30s or early 40s, are like, what the fuck just happened in the last 20 years? So I haven't actually consciously chosen the things that are happening. And I think the work I do with dads, it becomes even more easy to slip into autopilot because of just the volume of things that we have to do.
Yeah.
You know, this like you think that you're busy before you have kids. And then when you have kids, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah. Well, what was I doing with all my spare time?
Yeah, what was I doing with all this time? So just obviously having a kid's one of the, most fulfilling things in the world. But there's a list of obligations almost, right? They're stuck with that commitment. So if you want to be, if you want to be the dad and man you want to be, right? Like you're showing up, you're trying to be present, but also you've got to do the shopping, you've got to do the dishes, you've got to change the nappies, you've got to put the kids to bed, plus you've got to go to work, plus then you've got to pay the bills, plus all of these things. You end up slipping into autopilot really easily across all areas of your life, right? With your work, your relationship with your partner, your wife, with the style of parenting even, right? Like just getting through the days. That is sort of what I talk about with default. It's almost like head down, whereas the flip side, like deliberately, is trying to pause and consciously realize the choices and decisions that you're making, right? So like realizing, what you are doing with your work, what you are doing your kids, how you're parenting, what you are doing with your wife, your partner, and making sure that the actions that you take off the back of that are aligned with that person.
Yeah, absolutely. And where did the dad element come into it? Because the Scotch Egg moment was before you had kids, right?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So was it about kids being a catalyst for change? Was it about that being an inflection point for you? How did that come to be?
I think I probably hadn't properly articulated the default deliberate until I had kids, right? And almost like reflecting back on how I'd seen that sort of pre-2019 period, as I'd sort of alluded to. And then also when you become a dad, just the ease that you could slip into this autopilot. And I also sort of, was living deliberately, taking some actions and experiments on other areas of my life. But when we had Pearl, those first 6 months, like I caught myself slipping back into it, right? Like this preconceived idea of like what a dad is was in my mind that I hadn't necessarily consciously decided. So this default mode was to sacrifice myself, to not look after myself, to go to the gym, I work from home at the time, and I kept running out and helping my wife. And the consequences of that were I was working to like 7, 8 at night until I got to a point where she was like, why the fuck are you coming out during the day all the time? Like I'd much rather you concentrate on your work and come out at 6 o'clock. And that's a sort of really good like illustration of default versus deliberate. We think that we're doing the right things. We think that's sacrificing ourselves as a parent is the right thing to do. But actually for the outcome, being a present dad or supporting your partner doing that, it wasn't actually a good move for that. So I think like the catalyst for the dad work was it's really easy to slip into default mode as a dad, sort of what I was saying about the volume. And also it, like, I think the purpose question for a lot of men gets solved when you become a dad.
Yeah.
I was like, for me, like, yes, of course, I want to find purpose in all areas of my life, but it's really good to not just think about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's actually like a relief, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
To put someone else's needs ahead of yours.
Yeah. And it almost becomes very evident what your role then is, you know, to be a dad.
Yeah, totally.
And I suppose, like, with that said, and to play devil's advocate a little bit, like, what's wrong with living on default mode? Like, where can it lead people astray? Because I guess I can imagine some people even I know, just being, look, it's fine. Like, you know, I'm paying the bills, job's going all right. You know, I do the football matches at the kids, or I do the theatre, or whatever it is. But like, it's fine. I don't need more. Like, what do you think is missing potentially when people are living on autopilot, or dads are living in default?
I mean, like, what I talk about all the time is defining your own standards, right? Or expectations of what you want to be as a dad, as a man, and in your own life, right? And there's no judgment on my part to go, like, if someone is totally happy with that, then that's great.
Yeah.
Like, but then is that living on autopilot?
Yeah.
Right? It's not really, because they've actually consciously decided that they're happy with that. I think, like, what I tend to find is people have that, I suppose, nagging feeling in the back of their mind that they're not showing up to be the person that they want to be, right? So whether it's in individual areas of their lives or from a wider perspective as a man or as a dad. So there's something there that's going, like, I know I have more to give, or I'm not maximizing my potential, or if I could just operate at a higher level, I'd feel more fulfilled and everything that I would want, or the outcomes would be better for everyone around me. I think that's usually the nagging thing that gets people to move. And I think, like, having more conversations with men and dads, that's definitely the thing. And I think a lot of people that come to me, sort of what we were talking about earlier before we recorded, is there's people that go head down and don't really reflect, but there's also a subsection of men and dads that are very self-aware, and those are the ones with the nagging feeling in the back of their mind, right? Like, they want to show up the best that they can, but either they feel stuck because they don't really know what to do, or they feel like they can't do it at the moment, or it's not really an option for them because of the, you know, volume of activities. They're so busy, they don't have enough time. Yeah.
And I think, you know, certainly for the men I speak to, it almost feels indulgent, right? Because if you are subscribed to that classic masculine stereotype of, like, provider, protector, stoic, or, you know, an interpretation of stoicism, like, I'll just crack on, I'll do my job, I'll get pissed at the weekend, and we'll repeat. And to indulge, so to speak, in, you know, self-work, to perhaps think about a different way you could do things, feels like a luxury.
Totally. And I think, like, one of the things that I always work on with people in that first sort of iteration, and I talk about all the time, or first conversations, is flipping your perspective on that, right? Because actually the game of being a good dad, or being a good man, or being a good husband, or showing up in work, or growing your own business, is not exactly a short-term gig. Is it? Right?
Absolutely not.
So, like, what we need is consistent habits, right? Like, consistency to be able to show up for a long period of time. But if you haven't, like, been able to build those habits, then it's really hard to do that. So, like, if you're running yourself into the ground constantly, you know, sacrificing yourself, in the short term, it might feel like it's the right thing to do. And you can run like that for a reasonable period of time, right? Like, you can do it. It's doable. But you will burn out eventually, right? And you will not get the results that you actually want. So, like, the perspective flip on that is one of the things that I call being deliberately selfish, which is putting yourself first. totally for you, right?
Yeah.
To feel good about yourself, right? To feel fit, to feel healthy, to do the work that you want to do, to spend time with your friends, to spend time with your kids, etc., etc. But it's also to show up for everyone and everything that matters to you.
Yeah.
Right. So like if you're feeling good about yourself, if you've been to the gym a few times a week, if you've seen your mates playing five-a-side, if you've been able to have a couple of beers every couple of weeks, whatever you want to do, like will you be more present as a dad when the kids come home from school from 3 to 5? Probably, right? Like,
and probably in a better mood, right? So you don't snap at them or whatever it may be.
Totally.
Yeah.
So it's just that perspective shift. It's like, and with both of those, like both of those could equally be true.
Yeah.
But it's just which one you choose.
Yeah. And when do you find that men are and dads are like reaching out to you for support? Is it because there's a nagging feeling that they can't quite name? Is it because they're at breaking point? Is it a bit of both? Like, is there a theme that you find dads going, help?
Yeah. I think like at this stage, there's different specific problems, but usually it comes from a lack of time or energy in a certain area of their life, right? So like, you know, I talked about sacrificing yourself. So I don't have time for myself.
Yeah.
I put everyone else ahead of me. I'm struggling to balance the time between work and family.
Yeah.
Or I feel guilty when I'm at work because I'm not with the kids, or I feel guilty at home, or I'm multitasking a lot, so I don't feel like I'm anywhere because I don't have enough time.
Yeah.
So there's usually some kind of like time or juggle
or
balance aspect to it. It just depends on the person.
And what do you find they typically, like what do dads actually need most when they're feeling like this?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, and like I think it's something that I try to like really work on and articulate, because I think like with guys and men especially, you know, I qualified as like a life coach.
Yeah.
Right. And when I try and talk to guys about, oh, why don't you sign up with a life coach? They're like, what the fuck would I? I'm not doing the crystals and all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I had that perception, right, of coaching before I did it. Like we don't really know what it is. So exactly like we talked about before.
100%.
Like we don't know what it is. Like we know what going to a gym is.
Yeah.
Right. And we know what a PT is, but we don't know what this element of coaching is. So like what I've tried to do is really like articulate clearly like what I do with people and how I help them do that. So I think like the main 3 areas that really help guys or dads in this specific parts of their lives with young children and with all these demands. The first part is actually to take responsibility, right? Okay. So like sort of what I said before, it's like you have to want to do something.
Yeah.
You have got to go, right, actually, yes, there might not be a perfect solution I can get to at this point, but there is some action that I can take. And look inward and go like, let's let's take into account the external, but like let's focus on me. Yeah. Like how can I operate at a higher level? So that's why I call like the program the deliberate operating system, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So it's like how can I operate at a higher level? Like what can I install? And the 3 main problems, right? Like the first one is clarity. So I've got so much to do, or there's so many things that I want to do, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Right. So you either get into this procrastination, you don't do anything.
Yeah.
Or you start overthinking, or the overwhelm is like you just pick random things, but it's not necessarily the most important thing.
Yeah.
So actually helping, like the solution to that is like helping dads sort of define what I call seasons, what season of life that they're in at the moment. What are the external factors that are going on? And then make some choices, right?
Yeah.
But on a very short-term basis.
Yeah.
So I want my life to look like this in 5 or 10 years. Cool.
Yeah.
But like, let's not care about that right now. What are we going to do in the next 6 weeks?
Yeah.
To create that movement and momentum. And then the other part, like obviously the time problem is like, all right, okay, but I don't have time to do anything. Like I can't, or I jump in for a week to the gym, but then can't keep consistent. So we go like, how do we make action easy? Like what systems and structures can we put into your life? Now you made the decision.
Yeah.
Like what is the system?
Yeah.
And then the last part is like mental overwhelm, right? Like there's so much stuff in your head.
Yeah.
Like you're so used to reacting on default and not consciously thinking is like, how can we build that deliberately selfish mindset and see things from a slightly different perspective, right? And the mindset piece is really being conscious and aware of the like actions that you take. And the only way to do that, sort of like we talked earlier about unteachable lessons, is to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Is to do the reps of that. And that's the sort of triangle. Those are the three sort of areas.
Yeah, amazing. And do you find that typically the one of those three or any of those three are easier or harder for men specifically to deal with?
Yeah, I think, I suppose with men specifically, I think different people come in with different problems, right?
Yeah.
So like some people might be stuck in like this idea of self-reflection straitjacket, I like calling it, right? Where it's like, I'm aware of the problems, but I'm just not doing anything about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Or some people might struggle with the consistency, etc. I think like the main thing that gets people out is movement, is momentum.
Yeah.
Right. So like, just doing something.
Yeah.
And that really helps. So like the resilience part, the seeing things in a slightly different perspective, the building that deliberate mindset is a longer term game to begin with, totally. Because you've got to do it in real life, right?
Yeah.
Like you've got to do it in the situations that arise in your normal life. But I think like what really helps to begin with is just picking some things, taking some actions, and then you create the momentum and create the evidence, right, in your mind.
Like
that the process works.
Loop.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like if you don't start, then you don't have the evidence.
Yeah.
But once you start moving, then the evidence builds. You create more confidence in the system, in your abilities to take action. And then that compounds over time.
Yeah, and I suppose what that also does is it gives a little bit of opposite energy to the flywheel of autopilot, right? Where you'd probably, if you're in work, you think all your energy is career-wise is thinking about the next promotion cycle, the next performance review, the next big project you got to deliver. That's the feedback loop you've got right now.
Yeah, totally. And like I talk to people with, you've been training this muscle in the gym for 20 years. Now we're completely flipping it.
Yeah.
And training another muscle. What's going to win for the next little bit? That muscle, right? So you're going to have to consciously, deliberately decide to actually think in this way and take this action regardless of what your mind thinks.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier as well, about the sort of macro changes and micro changes that we sort of need to see. And I think certainly when I speak to people, there is a bit of a cognitive dissonance of the big change that you can create in your life over a period of time being a result of micro changes, micro experiments, right? I know you do some initial blocks of 6 weeks with men. Like stack a load of 6 weeks, you've created a massive amount of a change in your life, but it sometimes doesn't feel like it's enough or is going to trigger it. But, that is part of the messy path of change that takes years.
Yeah, totally. And I think you underestimate the ripple effect of the small action, which goes into all areas of your life and actually starts changing it straight away, right? So like even a lot of the guys that I talk about, when they put their card details in and hit the thing, before I've actually had a session with them, they text me and tell me all the things that they've done.
Yeah.
Or see things in a slightly different way, right? Like I literally was speaking to a client yesterday who hadn't even decided whether to work with me or not.
Yeah.
And I was like, how's your week been? He's like, oh yeah, no, I decided, yesterday I had the kids at home and I put my work phone away and decided not to try and do both at the same time and just kept a little thing for work at nighttime. So it's like almost the decision making helps.
Yeah.
And the actions that we get, like I get dads to do, they choose the actions, right? But we usually pick a very simple one. But then also that helps you almost carry that out in other aspects of your life. So like as an example, one of the guys was like, right, I'm not looking after myself enough. I'm really bad at like protecting my own time for things that I find important and having difficult conversations. So like the solution to that was, right, a couple of times a week, walk your dog at like 3:00, right? Yeah. So like block the time out in your diary.
Yeah.
For half an hour, right? Only take half an hour lunch. You work for someone else, that's fine. Unless something really drastic comes in, that's your time.
Yeah,
you're doing the exercise.
Yeah,
right. So you're doing all these lessons at one time. You're building all this muscle at one time. So then the next time, like in a completely different, unrelated scenario, when he has to pick the kids up from school, and someone sticks a meeting in at 4:00 that isn't wholly necessary to be in there at that specific time. He's already done the reps on something easy.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm going to walk my dog at 3:00.
Yeah.
To have that conversation.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like that then carries over. So you go like, oh, that isolated action that you take, with the compound's a lot quicker than you actually think.
Yes.
Once you actually start taking the action and creating the momentum.
Yeah, and to your point that you said earlier, that's new reps of a new thing that just hasn't been developed before, hasn't been tried before. And it's funny, again, we were talking before. For context, we've been in the same co-working space for the last couple of hours. That's why I keep referencing our previous conversations. But I went for some drinks with some dads from the kids' school the other week, and it's funny how this sort of default autopilot mode is a sort of costume that we wear, right? Of like, because I said, I've got this guy coming on the podcast. He works with dads to help them find more time in their week so they can be a bit more deliberate, and there's the laughs around the table of, ha, isn't that every dad? Ha ha, because everyone kind of knows, unless they've been very intentional, that they're all in the same thing, right? And you all know better than me, but my assumption is some people might have it spiking in slightly different places depending on their career or home life, whatever it may be. But like everyone kind of knows they're kind of on autopilot, with some part of their life not being quite where they want it to be.
Yeah. I think I heard this thing a few months ago that really resonated with me. It was Jimmy Carr, actually, on Modern Wisdom, but he talked about this idea of trajectory being more important than position.
Yes.
So it's not actually where you are is the thing that makes you feel good. It's where you're moving towards, right? So like, as you said, that idea that some area of your life can't get the focus and attention.
Yeah.
But then you go like, what actions can I take to maintain it, right? Like maintenance mode.
Yeah.
So like I talk about this idea of seasons, I sort of alluded to earlier, but like, I don't think that work-life balance is a thing, right?
Yeah.
Like it's really difficult to do that. So this idea of balance I have in my mind anyway, like you have got the scales and you're trying to balance everything and you're making the assumption that you're building on steady ground.
Yeah.
When, with young kids, you're building on a fucking earthquake, right?
Yeah.
It's like everything changes all of the time.
Yeah.
We talked again before, like phases of kids, phases of work, phases of businesses, phases of relationships. So when you think you've got it nailed, the whole thing flips.
Yeah.
So it's pointless.
Yeah.
You might as well not try and do it like that. But this idea of seasons is like looking at the key areas of our life, right? So like our work, our kids, our relationships, our health /self, right? And yes, for some periods of time, some of those need to go in maintenance mode because we don't have the time and energy to hit everything at one time. So I think like the autopilot, right? Like we sort of talked about before, the default mode for a lot of dads is either they try and hit everything at one time.
Yes.
And burn out.
Yeah.
Because you can't do it.
Yeah.
Or they go, right, I'm focusing on these couple of areas, but the other ones slip badly. Yeah. So then they're like, oh shit, like I have a terrible relationship with my wife and you end up getting divorced.
Yeah.
And it's way too late to actually do anything about it. Whereas if you make a deliberate decision, a conscious decision to go for this season in my life, work and family is going to get a bit more effort, energy, time than self and relationships, right? So like an example of that would be that exact thing at the start of the year for me. When you have new baby, my wife like works herself. So like I was the breadwinner for the last few months. So like work and family, me showing up for... being being the sole parent for the toddler for a little period, plus also trying to help with the baby. Like that meant that, my 9:30 CrossFit classes on a Tuesday and Thursday probably weren't going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Or maybe it's see mates for a couple of beers once a month for those couple of periods of time. But you make the conscious, deliberate decision to go like, what is maintenance mode?
Yes.
So just because I can't do it all doesn't mean I shouldn't do any of it.
Yeah.
Right? So like if I'm consciously not choosing to put loads of time into our relationship with my wife at this point that we've talked about because we've got a new baby.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, we're not going to go out for date night every Friday night.
Yeah, yeah.
But what can you do?
Yeah.
Right? Like what is maintenance mode? All right, well, actually, can we every Friday or every Saturday, like one of us plan a meal that makes it like slightly different? Oh, we won't watch that Netflix film. We'll watch a film. Just something. So it's like there is always some action you can take, but and I think that is living deliberately, right? It's not trying to get to like this perfect scenario. So what you were talking about there before, like, I'm fucking busy.
Yeah.
Like I'm pulled everywhere. I'm doing this. I'm going home, picking up the kids. We're packing a bag to go to Northern Ireland tomorrow. I'm taking, doing a couple of calls. Plus I've got to do the online shop. It's like the reclaiming 10 hours that I talk to people about in the 6 weeks isn't so you can sit in your arse and Netflix at 3 o'clock on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're an ambitious person. You want to do the things, but it's making sure that you're spending that time on things that you actually want to do.
Yeah.
That is helping you get in the trajectory in your life that you actually want.
Yeah. And as you said earlier, to the standards you set for yourself, right?
Totally.
Not someone else's standards of where you should be in your career or whatever it may be. Yeah, I mean, I wish I'd known you when my kids were born, because my unhealthy, like, personal example was like, I was I put on like 15, 20 kilos when my kids were born, because I just had no idea how to maintain. It was oh shit, I still need to like work hard, and now I've got to be a dad and stuff as well. Well, I'm just going to drink, eat, and like not exercise. And I had no concept of like balance or maintaining that. And there are Facebook photos that will show that I clearly got that balance wrong.
Yeah. And then what were the consequences of that, right?
I had to buy new shirts.
You had to buy new shirts. But then also, like, I think that looking after yourself type of scenario then doesn't help you with everything else in your life. But yeah, I think like defining that maintenance mode. So I think, the expectation standards that you just talked about, like that is a super important thing that people don't generally do.
Yeah. 100%. I want to touch a little bit on work and careers, because I think, I would guess that for a lot of dads, like work and that, one, that's where they spend the majority of their time during the week, and two, it's probably on their mind as the thing they can't give up most. And I know you were at this Working Dad Summit the other week as well, which looked like a really good initiative. Tell us a bit about that, what the causes are of that, and how that weaves into all of this too.
Yeah, so I suppose I encounter dads that either work for themselves or have employers, right?
Yeah.
So when they work for themselves, you do have a bit more flexibility around it, right? Like if you build a business around the life that you want to have, totally. But there's also like a big subsection that I work for that work for employers, right? And they, have that 40 hours or they have that 30 hours that they work depending on, how many days. It is constrained. It is constrained. But again, like the whole point of the Working Dad Summit and the work that Elliot at Parenting Out Loud is doing is like, what micro changes or actions or conversations can you have? What can you do on a ground level to parent out loud, right? So be loud about wanting to be a present dad.
Yeah.
Be loud about, I want to pick up the kids from school, or I want to make sure that I'm back for bedtime a couple of days a week, and bringing those conversations to employers.
Yeah.
So then they change their policies, right?
Yeah.
And I think like some of the, micro macro thing that we were talking about before is like, the world is changing, definitely. People are recognizing that, dads want to actually be more present, right? 100%. Like they don't want to just be this breadwinner.
Yeah.
They want to be the caregiver, but they also do want to, have the ambition and have the job or have the business. So there is a macro change, but the macro change a lot of the time happens from micro actions.
Yeah.
So the louder the individuals can be within a workplace culture, then the more likely that culture is to change more quickly. And the Working Dad Summit was a real sort of illustration of dads that have done that.
Yeah.
Right. As well. And also, practical ways that you can have those conversations with your employer.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it looked amazing. And for people who aren't familiar, Elliot is Elliot Ray, who runs Parenting Out Loud. They've done like out of home campaigns to get posters up for dads to be more visible and vocal about, the balance they want to have at home and work. And yeah, again, to your point earlier, maybe it's not a balance, maybe it's a blend. That we're aiming for.
Good word, blend. I'll steal that one.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so thinking about then practical change, growth, dads listening to this who are like, yes, but what? Like, what are some small, apart from working with you, what are some like small deliberate actions that dads who feel stuck or close to burnout could start to take for themselves?
Yeah, I think I know I'm harking back on it, but it's this idea of standards, right? This idea of expectations for yourself. I think if we allow our minds to unconsciously decide what our standards are, then we'll never live up to them.
Yeah.
Right. So like it'll never be enough. So one of the things that people come to me with all the time is like, I feel like I'm not doing enough. So like as a dad or in work, or I'm not getting through this stuff. But if even right down to like are my standards as a dad?
Yeah.
Right. So like if you're not defining those, then it's really difficult to do. So from a practical perspective, right, like if you know, you're looking at that as an example.
Yeah.
If you feel like you're not being present enough, or you'd like to feel like you're not doing enough or not getting the balance right.
Yeah.
One of the things that I did, and you know, loads of my clients did as well, is in that midweek slot, right, where you are at work, where you are busy, where it's full on, the kids are at school or the kids are at nursery, they come back, it's chaos. Defining your standards of what a present dad is.
Yeah.
So for me, it's when the kids come through the nursery door, or I go and pick them up at 5 o'clock or 4:45 or whatever it might be, until they go to bed, I turn my phone off and put it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right. That's it.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm playing with them. I'm present with them. I have a conversation with them. I'll make them their snack. I'll put them to bed. I'll be in the bath. And I don't have the temptation to jump into work mode because I don't have my phone on me.
Yeah.
Right. So like for me then, in those 5 days a week, those 2 hours, if I go to bed at night going like, have I done the thing that I said I'm going to do? Then if my mind goes, oh yeah, you could have done more. Yeah, I could have, but I decided not to.
Yeah.
Right. So it's defining those expectation standards for yourself and then taking the action.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And taking the action. So whatever that might be. And that's just one example, I suppose.
And that's an example of a micro action that you can take that says, okay, I'm meeting my standards of, you know, that I've set for myself this week of, you know, parenting. And presumably then you could have some micro actions for health, some micro actions for your relationship and whatever area of your life you choose to focus on.
Yeah, exactly that. But like build that up then, right?
Yeah.
So again, it's like, what is the burning thing in your mind? What is the thing that's keeping you up at night?
Yeah.
Picking a standard for yourself and finding a system to take an action.
Yeah.
Right. So like, you know, or what is like the thing that I talk about all the time is like, let's not judge ourselves on the outcomes that we want. Yeah. Right. Like we judge ourselves on the actions that we take.
Yes.
Right. So like my hypothesis, my experiment for doing that, you know, activity with my phone was like, I want to feel like I'm there with him. I want to feel like I'm a good dad. I want to feel like I'm a present dad for this period of time. So therefore I run an experiment. I go, well, what is the thing that I think will help me get there? Yeah. Is spend quality time with them when they come back from nursery to when they go to bed. Yeah. Okay, right. Well, how can I make that action as easy as possible for myself? Yeah. Well, how do I get distracted? My phone. Yeah. Get rid of the phone. Yeah. Right. So that's my system to try and do it. Yeah. So again, like I might get to the end of the week and not feel like I've done enough or done a present, but that's the experiment that I've run. So then the next week I'll go, oh, well, maybe, you know, there's a couple of mornings that I'll drop them off. I can spend my time there. Or if it doesn't work after a while, maybe, you know, Pearl can not go on a Friday afternoon and I'll spend quality time with her there. Yeah. But it's like having the outcome that you want, creating some experiment or hypothesis, taking the action and then analyzing the data ultimately. Yeah. And then to your point earlier, like action begets action, right? Like once you've nailed the phone thing, then you might, you know, you've got that little glimmer of success, that little new feedback loop, and that makes you ask questions about what's the next thing, what's the next thing, what's the next thing. Yeah, 100%. And I think that's the idea with like goal setting as well, or living the life that you want to have, right? If you're stuck in like default mode or you're stuck in autopilot mode and you're not taking lots of action, like for me to ask you the question, go like, oh, where do you want to be next year? You've no fucking idea, right? Because, or you might have a perception of the idea, but like in reality, if you continue to take the actions and compound, like that's why we focus on like 6 weeks to begin with. Yeah. Right? Because at the end of the 6 weeks, your goals are different than they were at the start. Yeah. And if you continue in your 6 week blocks or you work with me for 6 months after that, the goals that you think that you could have achieved, become like much loftier.
Yeah.
So your floor like goes way higher. So like if you use like going to the gym or sport as an example, like if you decide you want to start running, right, and you really want to run a marathon, that feels like a unachievable goal if you haven't started running before.
Yeah.
Right, to begin with. I want to run a marathon in a year. But in your first 6 weeks, if it's, right, I'm going to walk day one.
Yeah.
The next one, I'm going to, right, jog 1K, etc., right? We do our 6 weeks thing.
Yeah.
If you continue to build that up and, you know, your 6 month goal is run a half marathon, when you get to the next one, it's a proportionate level above.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's that whole idea of like slowing ourselves down to go where we want to get to is incremental. And actually, although it feels almost potentially stupidly easy in the short term, that's actually going to get us to where we want to go in the long term.
Yeah.
And actually the only way to get to that long term is to start now.
Yeah.
With the short term actions. You can either go, I'll never run a marathon, or you can get up if you're arse and walk around the block today, right? And that's actually the path to get to where you want to go.
It's strange how relatable that feels, probably to you know, a lot of men in particular who have some experience of, I don't know, going to the gym or sport or running. It's amazing how much more relatable that feels as an example than, oh, I'll never have flexibility over my work schedule, or oh, I'll never be able to have a hobby again. Because I guess the cognitive hoops we have to get through to visualize that life are so much harder than like, oh, I'll never be able to bench press this or run that 5K time.
Yeah. And I think the difficulty with these sort of mental fitness or mental strength or this kind of deliberate action that you're taking versus going to the gym. Like I use gym analogies all the time or exercise analogies all the time because that's exactly the same process, right?
Yeah.
Sort of what we just talked about. But in the gym, or if you're running, like you'll see a physical difference, right? After maybe not 6 weeks, but like 6 months or a year, you will see it, or you'll be able to run further and you'll be able to do that. With like this type of work, you have to acknowledge the reps, right? Like there needs to be some kind of system for you to acknowledge the actions that you've taken to grow the mental muscle, right? And the mental muscle is the thing that grows your confidence and also like the acknowledgement that you're actually living the deliberate life that you chose to be and you're on the trajectory, like I talked about before, maybe not exactly where you want to be right now, but you're taking action to get there.
Yeah, I really like that. Yeah, like systematizing the feedback loop almost, right? But particularly, I guess, also for men who aren't very good at doing that. We're not used to doing that, of like patting ourselves on the back or at least taking a moment to pause and reflect on progress.
Yeah. And if you don't, then it doesn't grow, right? Like it's not like you go into the gym, it just doesn't, you don't acknowledge the fact, and then it's really hard to move forward. So like one of the systems that I use for my clients is I message them on a Friday. Yeah. Right. I go like, and I actually changed the question in this, right? It used to be like, acknowledge the wins. Yes. But it's not wins, right? It's not outcomes, it's actions. It's the thing that you've done. Yeah. Right. Acknowledge the actions that you've taken this week. Yeah. What have you actually done? Yeah. And that's the thing that keeps you on that like forward momentum, that trajectory. Yeah. Amazing. And how do you balance ambition with presence, for want of a better word? Because I guess sometimes it feels like you have to make a choice between, you know, ambition, whether it's, you know, in your own business, whether it's in your career, with like, you know, presence at home or with your kids and with your partner. Because it sometimes feels like the narrative, at least, is you can't have both. And I think like men didn't want both before, or they didn't even think it was an option that it was both. Is probably more of a accurate way of describing it, right? Even a generation ago, to what we are now. And actually, you know, you asked earlier about what's the thing that men come with. That's it, right? That's usually the fundamental thing, right? And I think that's something that they can't have both. No, like the balance and ambition with presence. Got you. Yeah. Right. Like as in being a good dad, plus also I know I care more about my kids than work. But would I give up my presence for the ambition? Would I give up my ambition for the presence? That's the difficult sort of trade-off. I think that is the thing that a lot of men struggle with.
Yeah.
Is that exact point, right? And yeah, I agree. It almost feels like you need to be one or the other.
Yeah.
But I don't think you do, right?
Yeah.
And I think the way you do that is, I mean, I'm talking about the same thing quite a lot, but like defining your own version of what success is for you in your business, in your work, and in your life, right? Yeah. So, you know, there's no world for me where I'm like, I don't spend enough time with my kids, right? Yeah. Like our presence. I mean, arguably I spend too much time with them, right? So that's why I have no problem with, like this morning, for example, like not seeing them and going out at 7:00 and doing that, right? Because I've defined these standards for myself in my mind. And again, like, you know, whether it's work or your own business, like in one of my other businesses, I think before I had kids, I was like, right, a successful business is one that brings this amount of money in, right? And that's it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I trialed a couple of things and I hired someone and we were in the office and I'm like, I might be bringing in some money, but like the flexibility that I thought I would have, I don't have because I've got this employee. Yeah. And I hadn't really thought properly about what a successful business was. Yeah. Right. Whereas with this business, I'm very cognizant of it. Yeah. So, but there is that tension to go like, right, this is my version of what success is in this business. I've defined it. This is my version of what being a present dad is, being a good dad in my mind is. And they need to work together and they need to grow at the same time. At some times, that means that the business potentially will grow slower than what you ideally would want it to look like. Yeah. Right. So there is like a tension in your mind that goes like, if I worked more, yes, I would be able to do this, which may or may not be true. I don't know. Right. Like that's the thought that pops up. Or in your work, like if I give more face time with my boss, then I'd be in that position to take advantage of those opportunities when they come up. Yeah. Could be true. Right. Yeah. But I think the reality is like, if you've defined your standards for yourself, then you overwhelm that thought with evidence and you go like, yes, I understand why you're doing this, but I've chosen to do it this way. Right. Yeah. And the truth is, to be honest, Tim, like the tension will not go away. Yeah. And that thought will continue to grow up. Yeah. Sorry, that thought will continue to pop up. Yeah. So it's up to you, right? Yeah. Up to you to decide to go, right, well, I've got to live with that tension, knowing that I'm living the way I want to and knowing that in 10, 15, 20 years, when I look back, I'm going to be really happy with the choices that I've made. Yeah. Yeah. Now. Yeah. And all the more reason why those choices need to be deliberate. Yeah. And anchor to some deliberate standards, and then you have a deliberate way to, you know, deal with that tension when it does occur. Because you're right, it will pop up. Yeah. And I think like, you know, there's this idea as well, like I think is in coaching and maybe in some aspects of therapy, it's not really explicit, but like this idea that you're able to like quieten your mind down and the thoughts won't pop up. The thoughts do pop up, right? Yeah. Like the thoughts pop up for me all the time. Yeah. Still, same. Yes, maybe less often, totally, because I've done a lot of work on it and I have conversations every day about it with people, right? But they still pop up for me every day. And I'm the one that's doing so much work, right? Yeah. So like for everyone else, of course, these thoughts are going to pop up. Yeah. Like we can't choose what we think, but we can choose what we do with that thought, right? Yeah. So like we can choose what action we take off the back of it. And I think, again, you know, there is no perfect world of balance of juggle or whatever. Like we're not trying to get there. Yeah. And again, there's no perfect solution to that either. You're going to live with the tension. You're going to live with these thoughts popping up. But all you can judge yourself on is the action, the things that you've actually done, right? The things that you've, the decisions you've made and the actions that you actually take. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And so as we draw this to a close then, based on your own experiences and all the dads you've worked with, like what's one thing you wish every dad knew wherever they were in their journey? That's a really great question. One thing they knew. This is actually a bit of a new idea that I thought about yesterday. So like almost imperfect solutions are better than no solution. Yeah. Right. So like I suppose one of the themes that we've talked about today is like there is no perfect. There is no 10 out of 10. Yeah. Right. but 6 or 7 out of 10 is better than none out of 10.
For sure.
Right. Yeah. So like, your conversation that you had with your friends going like, oh, isn't that every dad?
Yeah.
This is just a time of life. Yeah, totally. But like, what one thing could you do to have a better relationship with your wife? What one thing could you do to make your work life better? What one thing could you do to make you feel better about yourself? So like, the solution might not be perfect, but actually taking some action and accepting the fact that you won't get the perfect is actually a really good solution, right? Yeah. Is actually the way to feel like you're progressing and having that momentum. Yeah. So that combination of just because a solution isn't perfect doesn't mean to say you shouldn't do anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that feels like a pretty strong message to draw this to a close with. Is there anything else that you haven't shared that you'd want dads listening to know and take away?
I think as well, like, I'm in this.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm fully in it.
Yeah.
It's not easy. Right. But just this period of our lives isn't easy.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality of it. So you can either choose the difficult path that you're on now and choose deliberately, or you can live with the thing in the back of your mind going like, oh, I wish I could change something. Yeah. Right. So like both options are difficult.
Yes.
Which one would you rather live with? Right. Yeah. And I'm in it. Like I totally get it. But I feel like a lot more happy, fulfilled, content with my life, even though the position that I'm in, with my business, with lots of areas of my life isn't perfect.
Yeah.
But there's in no world that at the end of this year, I'm going to look back at the year and go, have I not taken the actions that I wanted to take? And I'm going to be really proud of the actions that I've took. So this isn't, me and you sitting here like on our lofty high horse preaching down. It's 100%. Like we're in it. Like everything that we talked about, everyone can do these actions, right? Yeah. Everyone can think deliberately. Everyone can pick one action today and do it.
Yes.
But it's up to you, right? Like it's your responsibility. It's your option to carry forward with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. I hear you. I think that's good advice. And if people are so inclined, where can they find your work, your coaching, your own podcast?
So Deliberate Dad is the general brand. So my website's deliberate.dad. You catch me on like Instagram, Deliberate Dad _ Someone has the bloody normal Deliberate Dad. I'll get it eventually. Yeah. But someone's got it there. And again on YouTube, Deliberate Dad, and on Spotify, Apple, all the podcasts are on there. So contact me through any one of those. Like I try to share some of this stuff that we've talked about today on a daily basis, and I've got lots of tools, framework, structures that you can take away for free and do right, and create that evidence in your mind and create that momentum. So that's where you can find me, and please reach out. Yeah, good stuff. Well, look, I think more dads should be doing it. Like I said, these drinks the other night. There's so many people feeling this, and there's almost this fear. I think of whether it's a fear of self-indulgence or a fear of the unknown to actually living an examined life and being very deliberate with it. But I think the fact that you're in it helps, right? It's relatable, it's approachable. And I think, many men, if they set some standards for around this stuff, would feel the difference. Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me, mate. Good stuff. Thanks for coming on. Cheers. So there you go. That was my conversation with Steve Cardwell, the Deliberate Dad. Look, I think many of the dads listening can resonate with at least some part of that. And I hope, even if you don't choose to work with Steve, that some of the actions and tips that he gave are things you can weave into your own life. And for me, what resonated the most with my own experiences and also with the men and dads that I speak to is actually probably just taking that first step to set some standards and think about the path you're on and whether that is the path you want to be on in a year's time, 2 years' time, 5 years' time. It sounds a bit grand, the examined life, but genuinely setting some standards for yourself and taking some micro actions towards those things can make a big difference when you stack them up over time. So, as always, if you enjoyed the episode, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear it. That's how this movement will grow, man by man, story by story.
Work hard, be kind, and I will see you at the next one.